Hello, everybody. So some stuff has happened. Um, I realized I finished the last video and I started watching it, and I realized it was taking me forever to make any progress. So what I decided to do was to turn off the recording for a minute and kind of just jam and kind of work as fast as possible for a little bit, at least, and did some chores, turned on the dishwasher, and now that's done, it's quiet enough to record again. So let me get you guys up to speed. So what I started doing was basically putting out a really quick proxy model for the scene in the CD cover. The way I did that is first I grabbed my reference. Good artists always use reference. There we go. I put a camera in place. I created some meshes. So I should mention one thing that's really important inside of VR is that everything... sorry, I'm doing it again. I don't want to try and make this series a lesson. I tend to do that. So most of my experience for recording comes from doing tutorials. So rather than make everything an instruction, I'm going to try and make it more conversational and try to explain faster what I'm doing rather than giving a detailed explanation. All right, so condensed version, basically use some reference, got some life scale reference, also matched that up to the direction, created some really quick things. I subdivided these so I can go in later and sculpt them. This is all of the mountains that are in the title right here. So what I'll probably end up doing later is creating more mountains to go around the rest of the scene. So if you turn around, there's nothing there. Or maybe I won't. Maybe it'll just be what it is. Hard to say at this point. Right now I'm just kind of experimenting. So I pulled that model into Unreal. You can see right here. I put a camera in where that other camera was. I put in my reference again. I created a really simple material here that's an additive transparent material. And if you look, I have to do this without moving the camera. But if I highlight this camera, you can see that it's roughly set up to be what we're looking at here. So there's a mountain here, you can see here, silhouettes match. What you caught me doing just before I started recording was adding in a light. So I'm going to eject out of that camera. I added in a light. It's got a large attenuation. It's actually too big. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pin this camera so that I've always got it. I should mention, like back when I'm at work, I have a really awesome setup for my monitors. Essentially, it's I have 3 monitors. 2 of them are vertical, and 1 of them's horizontal. I have a 4K horizontal monitor like this one. And then I have all of this junk. So basically, the only thing that's on the 4K monitor is this screen right here, and these controls up here. Everything else is off to the side. Usually off to my right, I'll have details, world outliner, world settings. Oh God, I mean, I've got pretty much every window I could ever need. I have layers, I've got levels, I've got statistics, I've got my content browser is over there, a whole bunch of junk. And then usually to my left, I'm doing blueprint work. It's not ideal because the blueprint work over there is vertical and blueprints are best done horizontal. So if I'm working on something long term, I pull that up to my main screen. But anyways, what I'm trying to get at is that you should have enough screens to do the work. Unreal requires a ton of real estate. It's just an unfortunate fact that it just requires a ton of screen space. So I am at home. I have my old monitor that I've had for years and years and years. So I don't have the luxury of having something really nice. One day, see, the problem is like when I work from home. Well, I never work from home. It's just not something that I like to do often. And I guess that's because, I work a lot at work, and that's kind of just where I leave it. I have a lot of respect for the guys that go home and can do this stuff all day long, but, I have my limits. And like I said in the last video, I try to limit myself to a certain amount every day. Sorry, I was in my controls. Right. So what I'm doing right now is I created a emissive material, and now I'm going to scale this mesh. I created like a really simple mesh to match the device. It's a little tricky. My resolution. I'm used to my 4K monitor. That's okay. We'll just eyeball it, and then later we can get it in real good. Alright, so I created a really simple material here. I am a really big fan of creating parameters. Yeah, so this is the brand new, sorry, I'll get back to the parameters thing. This is the brand new blur, not blur, well, I guess it technically is a blur still. It is the bloom effect. It's really cool. So the normal bloom effect is simple. It's been used all the time, and I'm actually probably going to end up using it because this kind of bloom that I have right now, this shape effect, although I like it, is not really representative of what we have here. So, sometimes you have to make the decision whether to match the resource or do your own stuff. So you see, yeah, that's a lot closer to what we had before. And I'm sorry if this doesn't come out very clear on YouTube or wherever you are watching this. I just wish I had that other monitor. Alright, so I'm going to make sure I put an emissive material on this so that it's safe to assume that this is not going to cast shadows. So I have to make sure that this is not going to cast shadows. Dynamic shadows, static shadows, turn those off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my material parameters within my instance. So like I was saying before, instancing is really cool. So basically what you do is you create a network inside of a material and then use parameters, dynamic parameters inside of those materials to create an instance, and then only those parameters are visible, and that you basically cut out all the other crap. And it's basically like making a tool for artists. And I make myself a lot of tools. Windows 10. I make myself a lot of tools. It makes work a lot faster, of course. So I want to pilot that camera again. Where'd it go? There you are. Sorry, that's a cat toy. Oh, it's too dark. All right. Control Shift P. I must remember that for the next time. All right. It looks like I'm pretty close to the scale. Let's see. That was a piece. Where was that piece? Cylinder. Yeah. Maybe a little too big. There we go. That's a roughly it, and now we want to match the color. I think that's pretty close. Let's make this plane invisible. I either have to turn up the emissive. Ooh, boy, too much. Yeah, it's feeling pretty good. Of course, I'm just like eyeballing all this right now. So no big deal if it's not 100% there. Ah, crap. Move the camera. I want to say it again. I miss my other monitors. It's funny. It's like one of those things that you really don't realize that you missed until it's gone. And then it feels so much slower. Alright, so I have a real light in this scene. This light is kind of like a tube. I'm going to try and get it to roughly... So, I have this big argument with some people sometimes about how things in Unreal should be physical. A lot of people think that it doesn't matter. Like, lights don't have to be one way or another. I try to make everything as physical as possible. The meaning, I want everything to match the real life characteristics of whatever it's supposed to represent as close as possible. And that way, it just makes more sense. It's just, Unreal is built on the principles that it should be imitating real life. And obviously you can extend those features to do all sorts of crazy stuff. But it should be close to real life. Pow. By which I mean pow. Alright, so now if I grab the light, got the whole thing. Perfect. Alright. So I was debating on whether or not to use shadows here. See, there's in the illustration there's a lot of that nice kind of like yeah, this is light right here, and the way the shadow works right now is if it's on, if it's casting shadows, the mountains block a lot of the light towards each other. So actually not having shadows here is working out a little bit better. I think I'm gonna have to break this up a lot. Probably not that much. Actually, let's see what shadows look like with that. Goodness. Those girls are going crazy. Bring that up about 3. Alright, and let's go ahead and change the color too. It's a very purpley blue. Not too saturated. Oh no, I guess it's more teal, huh? Kind of somewhere in the middle, huh? Alright, that's good for now. That's already looking like something. It's so cool. It's Unreal work can be very, very fast. You don't have to take your time. There's a few good artists that I like to see, or that I like to watch. Oh, I like to see artists. I like to watch their work. No? Oh, it's compiling. Ha! I'm gonna have to create a new instance of that. Anyways, there's a... Ah, crap. Instance. I was just talking about them. Create material instance. Where is it? At the very top. Yeah, I'm trying to get better at talking and working. You know, it's one of those things that I thought I was good at, but not as good as I thought. So this is where shadowing might come into play here. This looks a little weird. Alright, so another thing we have to do is pick and choose our features. Let's see. I'm running on a GTX 970. This is a card my wife bought me back in the day. It was a huge deal for me because it was super powerful, and it actually became the low standard for VR. I think it was like a $350 card, excuse me, at the time, and man, they were going crazy. It's nice. So developers want more power. They always want more power. That's always obvious, especially with console wars, right? Everybody wants more. The thing is, you can't always get more, right? So when they set the 970 as the default, that was good. It's going to be interesting soon because when the Scorpio is announced at E3, which is in just a few days, fingers crossed, supposedly their power plant is going to have something like the power of a GTX 980 Ti. And if you're talking about resolutions similar to what the other headsets are at, that's fantastic. That is a fantastic bar to set. And that means we can do so much more. And we can really focus on the graphics rendering. I can't wait to see what they have to say. I think it's gonna be really cool. Forgot to turn my ambient occlusion down. Screen space reflections. Yeah. Do I have those on? Oh, you know what I haven't done? And I need to do this right now before I forget. I need to go to project settings. Eventually, I'm going to go and do a bunch of performance stuff. But honestly, what I'm probably going to do is just copy the INI files that I have at work and just throw them in here. It's so many small things to remember. HCB occlusion and like all these small little things to remember. Oh, you know what? No, it's okay. I'm going to do this later. I was going to switch it into forward rendering, but I'd rather not waste everybody's time. And you know what? I'm going to detach this cylinder from the light because I realized I might need to tweak that a bit. So if I make these guys non-shadowing, these girls I should say, and I turn back the light on that, or turn on the shadows on this point light again. What does that look like? That's interesting. I'm gonna have to sculpt this. So I put in a terrain. This mesh is it's not just plain. It's a landscape, so I can go in and sculpt it later. Super fast, super easy. I might even use it to sculpt in the mountain that I have here. Basically sculpt on top until it matches the kind of the shapes. We shall see. I don't have ZBrush. I don't have Mudbox. I don't have any other sculpting software. I guess Maya technically does, but I don't have anything else that I can use to get the right look I want. Back to post-process. See, I'm not sure if some of my post-process stuff is working correctly. Let's take a look. I guess it technically is. It's just materials and the shapes that I have in place are not conducive to showing reflections. That is A-okay for now. Can't remember if I have an actual account with Photoshop or not. I don't think I do. Shit. I like the idea behind Creative Cloud. It's smart for them, you know. They avoid a lot of crack software, you know, because people have to actually pay for their stuff monthly, and it's cheap. It's a lot cheaper than Photoshop was. But damn, you know, I was one of those crackers. I cracked software, that is. Yeah, I mean, you know, you're a student. That's what you have to do, right? Yeah, it seems like a lot of what I'm missing right now is the background. I don't have anything that's going to work well for that right now. So I'm going to do a fancy pants material real quick. Put in a plane. So I guess just explain what I'm doing. So I'm going to create a really, really quick volume, which is going to be kind of represent some of our sky, not all of our sky. It's actually already interesting with the light in the background, but we won't be using that because that's not what's in the reference. Boo, 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 boo. So let's create a new material. Yeah. This is a tricky one. I don't know how I want to handle this yet. We'll call this simple fog because it's not really fog. I might actually use the real fog to try some stuff out. Oh, that reminds me. First, I'm going to create an instance of this and preemptively throw that on. There's a lot of other post-process stuff I'm going to do. Oh, you know what? If you're in the know, then you know that our .tone map film is set to 1 by default. Yeah, you see that? So this, let me full screen. So this is what the renderer used to look like, and Unreal started using this tone mapper, which they calibrated themselves, and looks more like this. It looks a lot better. I think it's been improved actually. Back in the day, it didn't quite look as good. But anyways, they made it default. That is now the standard tone mapper for Unreal Engine. I think that happened recently. That was like 4.15. Can't say that as the best thing in the world. I always prefer making people, you know, earn a really good visual quality. Not that people shouldn't get as much help as possible, but it's kind of setting everybody up to have the same look, which Unreal has been known for in the past. You know, back on UDK days, it was really easy to tell if it was an Unreal game or if it was like something else. Sphere mask, boom. I don't know if I want to use sphere mask or if I want to use a radial gradient. Let's find out. What is the radius? Stock radius is 256 units, Unreal units. That's pretty big. That's a lot bigger than what this is. We'll make it parameters again. So what we're doing right here is we're just setting up the network radius. I am a notoriously bad speller, so I apologize if I make some mistakes. Hardness Hardness. Hardness. Close enough. Yes. 100. I'm also using a different keyboard than I have at work. I should really get another one for home. Actually, I just finally destroyed I have a Microsoft Sculpt mouse at work, and it's really great because it helps with the wrists a lot. Ergonomic keyboards and mouse I cannot recommend enough. Yeah, sphere mask is not what I want. That's okay. I don't want to send back feedback. Or maybe I have this reversed. Yeah, you know, it's funny. Like, I spend a lot of time at work doing tons of different stuff, and I've been missing out on material work. I used to be the materials guy. Yes, I think this is what I want instead. Yeah, so I used to be a material guy, and after doing Kismet, I spent a lot of time having to do, you know, engine management and like rendering stuff, and you know, it just kind of standard development stuff. And you know, a lot of it had to do with the look of things, but a lot of it was had to do with things that I wasn't comfortable with, and things that I don't necessarily have a huge amount of interest in. But it's okay because I've learned so much doing it that I really can't complain. It's just I miss being able to spend so much time on materials and being like on the front lines of like cool material stuff. I had some Pearl and Noise which looked nice. Let's do this first. Density. There we go. Alright. That's more or less what I was looking for. Alright, cool. Very cool. I like it. There was a Pearl and Noise. Awesome. Alright, we are cooking with materials. Yep. Alright. So what I want to do now is I want to create some breakup. You know, this is good as like an overall deal. The color's not right yet, but I'm gonna fix that in a moment. But what I want to do is add some kind of noisy breakup stuff. So what I'm doing is there's this Pearl and Noise texture. See right here. It's pretty high frequency actually. That might become a problem. It might not. We shall see. But basically what I want to do is make some animated clouds. Really, really simple stuff. Whoops. Oh, look at that. Unreal named the new node for me UV2, and that's exactly what I was going to call it anyways. Awesome. All right. I'm going to preview this node, see what's going on. Obviously, these aren't moving because I have not moved any of these. So let's see, 0.1. 0.01. Let's see, speed. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Talking so much is hard on my throat. You know, I'm a quiet guy typically, so maybe this will help me. You know, it's funny, when I was teaching, I was doing a lot of recording too, and I think I boosted my vocal cord abilities. Certainly had the same issues, but now it seems better. It's always good to practice and make something better, right? Make yourself better. I guess that's what I'm trying to do. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I'm creating a time multiplier, and I'm throwing that into here so I can control the speed. Because I like way too much control of materials. I'm going to create time for both of these guys. So basically I'm just picking a direction, and these are going to be probably reverse of each other. So I'm going to do negative 0.01 and negative 0.01. No, I still want to make that, I want the flow to be up still, so I'm going to make the Y positive still. Yep, there we go. Alright. It may be good, maybe not. We shall see. I like to use depth offset for a lot of warpy type stuff. I don't want to get that complicated right now. Essentially what it does is it warps whatever the texture is. It normally is used for depth offset, which can do really amazing things like fake depth, essentially. So what I use it for is fake depth to add in influence over clouds. It's how I've done some of the effects for Kismet. It's how I'm doing some of the effects now for our new project, which you can't talk too much about. So basically what I'm creating right now is a very simple flat shader. And I have to remember that this would be, it would be nice to have particle systems in later that add volumetric effects to, oof, that looked really, really weird for a second. But it looks okay here. Yeah, obviously that's way too fast. And the lerp is not right. I use lerps a lot. So lerp low, I'm going to increase quite a bit. Cool. I'm going to bring that time down. I'm going to bring the UVs of one of these down. Ah, negative. My bad. All right, that's starting to look okay. Let's fix this so we get two colors. You know what? Actually, let's do that with a power node. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this radial gradient exponent. I'm going to throw in a power node. Can I P? Panner, dang it. Power is basically contrast. I'll call this color to power. I'm going to multiply that by, well, if we're going to make color 2, let's make this color 1. Color 1. Very nice. Unreal being not so smart. So I'm just going to make this another color. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply that by this power node. So it's basically going to be creating a hotter core, which I can then multiply. No. Add. And that becomes under color. Power. Let's make sure that that is something at least. There we go. All right. And make sure. You know what? I'm gonna make this also a multiplier. Finer control. That's all what it's about. Finer control. Especially with parametric stuff. Alright. Yeah, and most of the time I have some sort of idea of how my material is going to turn out. Almost always takes a turn and becomes completely different. That's how it goes. Alright, so if I want to make color 2 emiss stronger, why isn't that being added in yet? Perhaps because the color power blah 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 power is too low. That's what it was. Power. Yeah, you see. So now I got a core brightness. Yes, that's exactly what I wanted. How cool does that look? All right. That is badass. And I can say that because I want to. Alright, let's go back to our reference. Because now I want to start matching color. Yeah, you can see that these are much more purpley. And it looks like the core brightness is below the horizon. Yeah, that looks more like it. You know what, the speed on that is still too quick. Whatever it is, let's bring it down by half. We want this to be subtle. We want a subtle effect. Yeah. that's more like it. Alright, let's bring in... Oh boy, things are gonna get complicated. Multi-monitor, I'm saying it again. Alright, bam. Alright, you know what? I'm actually gonna color pick. Okay. Make the UVs on that second one much smaller. Can't even tell. I'm sure you guys can't tell either how that looks. Yeah, it's starting to look like something. Probably bring the what was that called? The radius? No, power. Color to power. Yep. Bring that up some, and then bring the emissive way down. I mean, it looks cool. I love that outline. In fact, just because I'm curious, I'd like to see what that looks like with that brand new awesome bloom. Oh, it looks so good. Man, can't use it though, not yet. Let's check our camera again. I was wondering, it's like it looked really blurry. And, yeah, this is why. Let's increase that aperture. You know, maybe it's time to bring back that plane. Yeah, alright, I'll do that. Man, how's that time? Still bugging me on that speed. Yeah, that's looking better. Cool. It's starting to look pretty good. Let's see, let's try adding some atmospheric fog. Oh, I'm looking in the wrong place. See, that's got me all mixed up. Normally my modes tab is not right here. I'm sorry, not atmospheric. Exponential. The new stuff. Oh, I should show that off. That's really cool. Exponential height fog, we'll add that in. Yep, it's looking pretty good. You know what? This modes tab is coming over here. That's better. I'm like reevaluating the way that I do single monitor. Not my ideal setup, but it's something. Oh, and this needs to be an additive. Doesn't need anything else besides that. It's just adding color into the scene. Fog is going to blow this out at the moment, but that's okay. I'm gonna take this fog. That's just to give us some stuff around us. Bring the density like way up. Alright, yeah, let me show you this cool stuff. Alright, this is very cool stuff. If I turn on volumetric, nothing's happening quite yet, but if I go over into my point light, and I'm going to make this movable at the moment, and I cast shadows, and I cast volumetric shadows. Oh yeah, that is so cool. I might keep that in. Oh, that looks so cool. Problem is, once you do that, it masks a ton of your stuff. It's just, I'd have to bring down. Hell, I like that so much. I think that looks so good. I might have to keep it. Let's see, I need to go back to that other... I need to go back to that old bloom effect. Oh, and while I'm here... Oh, I am on standard. Ah, oh, look at that bloom. Standard, it's kind of boring. Intensity. Now I need to bring the emissive down on that. Perhaps. That might just be how bright this guy is. Yeah. Well, I can't bring that down anymore. It's time to merge these two guys again. Because now it actually matters. There's a couple things I can do to increase the amount that light puts out. There is a nice feature, volumetric scatter intensity. And And if I look back at exponential light fog, scattering, extinction scale. Oh, it's all about that density, huh? Well, I don't need that much. Some would be nice. You know what I could probably do? Pull the radius down on that. Yeah, that helps. So I changed the shape of the light. So what was happening, it was kind of blowing out some of the stuff that was going on, some of the cool stuff that was happening. It was blowing out. Damn, it's a really bright light and it's blowing out the background. It's the only way to get that fog. Just realized that this is still too noisy. Ah, man. Alright, let's see. Oh, big chunky clouds. Alright, this is looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and save that. I might not have done that yet. Always a good idea to do. And I am going to take a quick break. I know what? I gotta double check something before I take a break, actually. Yeah. Let's double check that again. So what I wanted to do is cast the volumetric shadows. See that happening there. But I didn't want to cast Yeah. Yeah, they included volumetric shadowing inside of dynamic shadowing. That makes sense, but it's a little unfortunate. That's okay. Bring the density back down. Alright, we're gonna take that break.